Armando Silva. I always want to call you Artmando.
Yes.
That's like your stage name. But I always want to call you Armando, ¿no? Pero Armando Silva, bienvenido al aire con el Aventurero. Thanks for allowing this to happen. We've been trying to get together already for a long time, no?
Yeah.
Like I was saying, dude, your style, like those derbies, not a lot of people can pull them off.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, well, first, thanks for coming down, being here in the studio, opening yourself up to conversation, y estando aquí para platicar un poco. Yeah, the hat, I think you can just, you do what you allow yourself to do, right? And then if you just don't worry about it, I think it kind of ends up morphing into who you are and part of your personality in a way.
I'm a big hat guy, but I could never pull off a derby or a bowler like that. I love it, but I couldn't. I'm a fedora or, got to cover up the big ears.
Yeah.
Oye, Armando Silva, very well recognized artist, not only in Northern Colorado, but in Colorado. Has hecho unos proyectos muy grandes últimamente. You're constantly busy on the go doing art. Tell us a little bit about yourself, de dónde vienes, quién eres, cómo llegaste a Greeley.
Yeah.
And a little bit about your story, man.
For sure. So I'll give you a little bit of the elevator speech, right, to kind of sum it up, and then we can expand on different things as you pick up on what I talk about. So, nacido en Zacatecas, and when I say nacido en Zacatecas, like the traditional way, like in my grandma's house in the living room.
No emergency room?
No emergency room. I think it was like the lady lived like 2 doors down. Like mom was in the middle of a movie. Anyways, born there.
Mom, I'm home!
Yeah. And a la edad de cuatro, like I would say like between 4 and 5 is when we moved here to the United States, when I was 4 and 5 years old.
Okay.
And I like to touch on that and kind of stop there a little bit because it's not up to me, right? Like that was a decision my parents made. So to keep it short, Mexico, moved to the United States. Parents are looking for something bigger. You're trying to figure it out kind of as a first generation, de primera generación aquí en los Estados Unidos. Parents are telling you go to college, make something of yourself. Aquí estamos echándole ganas, whatever you want.
Tienes que ser doctor.
Yeah.
Tienes que ser.
Yeah, and not from not like a pressure thing, but as a like, hey, you can do whatever you want. Like really ask yourself, ¿qué quieres hacer? Y ve hazlo, and just kind of cheering you on, right? And from that sort of energy standpoint. And then went to college, got my degree 5 years into college, and then trying to figure it out and ask myself what it's like to be an artist in the middle of America, right? And so here we are kind of working on some of that stuff, trabajando de los dos lados, kind of representing kind of a bicultural, bilingual, binational sort of entity through my artwork. Still going home and, to my mom's house is what I call home, and eating menudo pozole and talking about like the chisme and everything like that, but at the same time going and talking to people that are involved with nonprofits and boards and, pretty large businesses and booking flights. So it's the dynamic, the juxtaposition of some of those things, sometimes pretty funny. Pretty curious, but I think it's what keeps you humble and keeps you working. And then, so yeah, from there we can rewind and, kind of take some specific pit stops if you'd like, and see how we got to this point.
Primero que nada, how was growing up in Greeley for you? I know you're younger than me, so probably early 90s?
Like mid-90s.
Mid-90s.
Yeah.
Growing up in Greeley, mid-90s, en una casa donde se hablaba español.
Sí.
Eras inmigrante.
Sí.
And you were a brown kid in school in Greeley.
Oh, yeah.
How was that?
Oh, that was it's still probably the weirdest thing. I'll give it to you simple. So, yeah, being a brown kid that's learning how to speak English, and predominantly, I'll just say white, that's something that you didn't realize. But I think there was some other Hispanic kids. But for me, it was either you're hanging out with the white kids that are in the computer lab, doing their homework, involved with sports, and you're not really involved with sports because that means you're after
the jocks.
Yeah, you're staying after school, but you can't do that because you're on the bus. So you're either hanging out with them if you're into learning or into doing if you have interests, or andas de malandro with a lot of the Hispanic kids. it felt like those were my only two options. Not saying that there weren't some things in between, but from what I looked like, the kids that looked like me were out
tagging,
ditching school, like not turning in their homework, like cussing up a storm, like like just misbehaving and stuff, for the most part. And then some of the kids that were into some of the things that I like to do didn't look like me. And also their agenda, their schedules were different than what I had access to. For example, just from like a kid riding the bus, like you couldn't stay after school and do those extra activities. Maybe from a financial standpoint, because parents are still kind of figuring it out. Like I won't say that we were super poor, but we were pretty tight in a way. I wasn't part of the culture, and at the same time, you're learning how to speak a language. So assimilating an American culture is still another level on top of that.
I can relate because, and I said it in a couple other interviews, I mean, in la primaria, in middle school, I was one of only few Hispanics. I spoke fluent Spanish. So you either fit in with this group over here or you fit in with this group over there. There was no in between.
For sure.
Te veían y, ¿qué estás haciendo aquí? What are you doing with us? Like, go over there with your homies.
Yeah.
So it was really hard back then. I can, imagine with you and here in Greeley, probably, if not the same, a little harder. When did you know you wanted to be an artist? When did you feel that love for art?
Yeah, so I'm currently I do residencies inside of schools right now. And I've had to kind of search for that answer to that question, because I get it a lot from teachers and kids and up and coming artists. And what I tell people is that for me, illustrating, drawing, making a map, right, a sign or a symbol was an easier way for me to communicate while I was figuring out how to talk or how to spell or how to write an essay. Like, it was just easier for me to participate in a group project or have a seat at the table by just drawing in general, right? So that's when I discovered, I see it now, 2020, que porque podía dibujar, podía participar en diferentes proyectos. But I do want to interject this a little bit, though. Up until I was 14, I was going back to my hometown in Zacatecas, Sombrerete, every summer and spending about, I would say, 2 to 3 months out of the year there.
Okay.
And what I will say is that a lot of my childhood, where I felt like I was in a stride, that I was like, oh, this is me, was in those 2 to 3 months when I would head back. Other than like my super close best friend, you just hang out all the time. Like, as far as a community and as far as like what it's like to have a childhood and be part of different things and just jump in and out of different groups.
Right.
In those 2 to 3 months that I would go back to Mexico, I found my stride. And that's where I discovered and explored everything from knowing who Maná was, the Ricardo Arjonas, the Paulina Rubios, a lot of that pop culture that's part of Mexico that you think of those 90s. Yeah. That just going outside and picking up a game of soccer with the kids that are there and not having to feel like, where are the kids that play soccer? It's like, well, anybody just plays soccer. You would just go outside and play. Going out to go climb hills, los cerros, and races and hide and go seek. Yep. I found a lot of that, and I found my place within those spaces a lot better than I did here in the United States, up until I was about 14, I would say.
Why do you think that is? I mean, obviously you spent more time here.
For sure.
Pero, y también I can relate with that, because when we would go to my dad's hometown for Christmas or for the summers, igual llegábamos, en cuanto entrábamos al pueblo, it was like aire fresco.
Yeah.
Respirabas, you're like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Nos bajábamos del coche, íbamos corriendo, we would go running through the streets, un pueblito. So I really know what you mean with that, but why do you think that is?
Well, I think just from an identity standpoint, like, as much as you're not really thinking about it at that age, I think kids are first your cousins or friends or just people around the block. I think they're just excited to see you. Like, you're a novelty, right? Maybe in a way, like, oh, you're coming back. So like, hey,
what'd you bring us?
Yeah, come play with us. Da-da-da's here. Come over. Like, let me show you this. So there's a much more inclusivity aspect of that. And I think that there's more of a do more with less sort of aspect.
Yep.
With those sort of kids. When you think of the barrio, you don't think of the barrio as much, or at least I don't here in Greeley. Like there isn't a barrio. Like there isn't like, oh, those are just the kids from the barrio where they're playing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and when you do get into that, it feels more like, I would even say gang related. And it's more of that.
Here it is very much affiliated with that. It is cholo, you know. Los chavos que están en la esquina, they're not playing soccer. They're cholos, you know. It's the mentality
holding down
here,
the block. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And over there, like, yeah, everybody had their barrios, but a lot of it was almost in a competitive nature, right? Like, you're always, like, trying to outdo each other. Or, like, kids would get into fights, but I think a lot of that was just, you know, that primal human... I'm a boy, I'm a dude. I think a lot of that male testosterone just kind of happening, right? No. And so I think there was a lot of that. And I think being here in the United States, there was a part of me that was just timid. And I don't think the society or the times asked or allowed kids to be very inclusive. It was more, hey, you're different. Or that kid doesn't speak. Or you don't play the basketball. Or you don't... you don't wear the things that I'm wearing, and there's like the classism is sometimes more obvious and in your face, I think. The way
I experienced it was here you were looked at weird because you spoke two languages, and you had an accent in English and you had an accent in Spanish.
For sure.
There, you know, when we'd go back, I would be told that, you know, I wouldn't dress. I would dress like a gringuito.
Yeah, a bolillo.
Y luego hablaba el español bien pocho.
Yeah.
Según ellos. And it wasn't teasing, it wasn't anything like that, but it was just no soy ni de aquí ni de allá, but at the same time, allá me sentía, you know, I could breathe, I could relax, I could have fun. And, you know, I remember going through the mercado like you were talking about and discovering Paulina Rubio in particular. My God, I had a crush on her.
Yeah, or Thalia, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I remember going through the mercado looking for a U2 CD.
Okay.
Back when U2 came out, like, God, what was that, 95, 96 with Octoon Baby. And I would go through the mercado to the piratas and, oiga, ¿no tiene un disco de U2? Y me miraban así bien raro. Y mi amigo me decía, U2. Ah, sí, aquí los tenemos.
Yeah.
You know, so simple little things like that, no? Pero... do you remember a certain time in your life where you were like, I love to draw. Just give me a pen and paper and let me doodle.
Yeah. So again, drawing for me was always like, it was like this...
an outlet?
Yeah, it was an outlet. It was like a way that I spent time because I wasn't maybe involved or I wasn't participating in different things. It was a way for me to be like, oh, my homework's done. Or like, or I'm seeing Batman, I'm seeing Ninja Turtles, I'm seeing MTV. It was a way for me to process and filter some of those things. But then as I grew in through like middle school and high school, it was a way for me to build leverage and find identity. So I quickly became aware that I could draw and that I could spend time doing it on it, and I was all right. And then kids started seeing that. And everything from, oye, me dibujas el nombre de mi novia. And so I would actually start doing that, and I actually started selling little drawings and sketches.
Hustler.
Whether it was for kids to put in the front of their binder, or to give it to their girlfriend as a gift, or some kids that like had money, had like cool sneakers. Like, can you draw me like, you know, can you draw me Michael Jordan or something like that? So to participate in culture within the school, I was able to kind of hustle up a little bit of that, and through that, what was cool about that is I then started being a part of everybody's circle, porque me hablaban again now from like the jock kind of people, but then like the Mexican girls would talk to me, but then like the cholo kids would be like, hey, you're sick, fool, like you hang out with us, because I could, as they would say, get down, right? Like you get down, and so
you like menudo,
and but then everybody, like, I don't know, I had access to everybody, so that for me, the leverage within that is when, like, it made sense. I'm like, oh, this is something I can do that resonates with others. That more than just me being alone and drawing and wanting to get something perfect in my imagination was where I found the importance in that creativity or that skill or ability to create. Porque, por ejemplo, estar aquí en el estudio or being in a project just me by myself, it's not that exciting. Like, it's kind of isolating. It's lonely. Like you run out of like podcasts and like you run out of music and like things to listen to. And I tend to kind of thrive off of a conversation and other people's energy. And not to say that I'm an extrovert. No me gusta tampoco always in front of people.
But you're social.
But I'm social, yeah. Y por eso, that's when I found that drawing, creating, or being like a platform or un filtro for somebody else to express an idea through and then make some cash off of it while I was like in school. That was like, oh, there's something here.
So would that be like the moment in your life that you realized you wanted to be a professional artist?
No. That was just like a side hustle. That would be like me being like, I was a lot tech. Like I cleaned cars while I was in high school.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, I really like to have my car clean. Like cleaning cars. Like cool.
Are you like OCD about your clean car?
No, but it was like a
Q-tips y todo el rollo.
No, it's like when you have your girlfriend, you know, and like you want to present well and, you know, shine up the car and just, there's that presentation part of you. So I was like, oh, but I'm also like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? So I always saw being an artist as this super abstract, algo que no se me podía, I didn't know how I would be able to access that. It just seemed too Disneyland, ¿verdad?
I mean, did you think about it like, oh, Van Gogh, Picasso,
Exactly.
Like untouchable?
Yeah, like Michael Jackson, right? Like to be an artist, like you either need to be that o no eres. Y se me hace que mucho de eso era porque you don't see it here.
Yeah.
When do you run into somebody, and not that it's special, but you just don't see it.
It's rare.
It's rare. And it would be like, when do you see a marine biologist here? Like,
right.
Well, you wouldn't see them here. You would see them by the ocean. And I think just that part of me, I never saw it that way until I was in college. To kind of get there, I was a business major for 2.5 years. And it was all right. Like, I was doing pretty well. Grades were good. Was working. But I went to an art show at the university, and I just walked in and I saw everything. And actually, take a step back. From the moment I walked into the building, it was already like a Disney movie. Like, I had never been into a building like that. And it was here in town. Pero era algo en donde yo nunca había entrado. Just out of living in my own bubble, I think. And it was like a movie for me because I saw like ballerinas coming down the stairs and kids coming like in another room working on like some violin solo. And I was like, what the hell? Like this is for real? Like, this is how it is? This is how I've seen it in movies.
Like some Willy Wonka stuff, no?
Yeah, you're like, man, like my dreams, like people's dreams are coming true here, right? Entré al art show. I saw paintings and drawings hanging up on the wall, and I was just meh. Like, I looked at all the work on there, and not all of it, but for the most part, I was like, I pictured my first experience or my university type of experience in an art show for me to be like just blown away.
You had higher expectations.
Super higher expectations. And when I walked out of that, that's when I was like, maybe I can do this. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. And because I never think of myself as this, wow, es que es un genio.
No, but you have self-confidence.
Yeah. And I have skill, I think. The next week I switched my major, became an artist, and still trying to figure out like.
I want to know the conversation at home with that one.
La verdad, I don't remember there being a conversation. No. At this point, I had already moved out. I was living kind of like in a bachelor pad. I don't even know who I told. I just remember going into the art show thinking, next week going to see my advisor, switch into art, and starting. And I don't remember telling my mom. I don't remember really engaging with my dad, and especially with my dad because he was the one that was mostly like, whatever you're gonna do, like go kill it, like be the best. And so when I was a business major with a dance minor to open up a dance studio, he was like, cool, just make sure that your dance studio is gonna be awesome. Like, just do your thing. So I think through that, there was just this overall trust that because I switched, it was kind of like a shoulder shrug, like, okay, well, I guess this is your next move, but finish. I think that was maybe the overall energy. I don't want to say there was a particular conversation, but it was just this like, just make sure you get done. Like, don't go switch your major again next week, right?
Yeah, no back and forth.
Right. And I think a lot of that was because while I was growing up, I tried different things. I was in soccer for a while and played pretty well, and we've made it into the playoffs and got like MVP in my high school team. I led a dance group while I was in high school. You know, I worked full time, so I was always pretty active with a ton of different things and testing the waters. And so I think there was this overall trust from my parents of like, kind of whatever I'd pick and decided to like, okay, let's focus on this. It would work out. I think my main, donde estaba nervioso yo and mis papás también era que, pero decide, like just pick something already. Because you're eventually going to get to a point that if you don't start working on something, you're not going to know or not build anything.
So your family was always very supportive?
Yes, but I think a lot of it was also, like my mom still to this day, she's just going through like college applications with my smaller sister, and she's barely understanding what that's all about. So a lot of it for her, I think, was also very abstract and what that looks like. And not to like put my mom down or nothing, but my mom didn't get past, she didn't get into preparatoria.
Right.
So in Mexico, she, got to a certain part, and it's time to kind of do the at-home wife kind of thing, which she's amazing at. Like, she can cook anything, and
she's got a PhD.
Yeah, she taught me like everything it is to just like exist and live and treat people well in a way, right? So I think there was a lot of not knowing how that goes, and just them feeling like that I knew better than they would at that point.
So when was your major break in the art world? Like,
yeah,
because you do a lot of extravagant shows. You mix dance with your painting.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of the videos you do. I want to say the first big project I saw of yours was the Bear at UNC.
Yeah.
I want to say that's the first big one that I saw.
Yeah, definitely. So I graduated in 2010, and we're now in 2020. I will say,
viejito.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it went by super fast, but it's been like 10 years.
Yeah.
And I would say that I just barely, like, I feel like I just woke up, like in the last year and a half, where I'm like, oh, that's what this is. That's how okay, now let me work on it. And what I mean by that is that I graduated college, and I'll just say Colorado in general at that point, other than hosting other artists, being like, if you're in the Denver Art Museum, you're going to host a New York artist to bring in a big name, get people in to go into the museum, and especially Northern Colorado in general, I don't think the art community or art supporters were in a space to be like, yeah, we want to spend $1,000 on a painting from a kid straight out of college. Maybe if you're like 50 and you have a name and something going on for yourself, then possibly, right? So I got a couple big gigs. One of them being painting at UNC, painting that big bear in the inside of the rec center. Pero eso fue de chiripa. Era because the department wanted something to not spend a ton of money on it, but also give somebody a leg up. And that's the first time that I quit my job, actually, to go and do that project.
Really?
Yeah. And I worked it the way that I pitched it to them, and this could be advice for all up-and-coming creatives, entrepreneurs. If you're starting something, it's a great way to, I don't want to say do things for free, no lo hagan gratis, but don't sell yourself like in a big lump sum. So what I did is that I negotiated to be hired up as an employee. So I was like, well, this mural is going to take me a really long time, and it should take me a long time because you're a big institution here, and we want this thing that I create for you to last 50, 100 years if this building is still here. So that I was already pitching it on a long term like that, right? Like, you're going to get all this value out of it.
And they're thinking, we're going to cover it up in a couple years probably.
Right. And maybe they will, right? But I'm like, well,
they haven't yet.
Exactly. And I'm like, I really want to put the work into it to where it's going to last that long. And I didn't know. I was like, okay, here we go. Pero les dije, it's going to take me probably 2 months to paint this for you if we're going to do it the right way. Porque yo pensaba, como todos los artistas de antes, right? Like, again, the big guys, when you think of Diego Rivera, that they would spend forever and ever on him. Y they're like, okay. But en vez de decirle, okay, it's going to cost you 20 grand, 10 grand. I was like, just hire me as one of your employees and pay me what you would pay like a general contractor. We looked it up. We came to an agreement that made sense. And now I had financial security for 2.5 months. So I can quit my job and go. I mean, I don't know how secure that is, but for 2.5 months coming out of college, that's a pretty good job.
Well, and usually most people in a project, I don't know about art, but a lot of people in a new project like that, they'd be like, oh, you can't pay me? Okay, well, I'll do it for free anyway.
For sure.
You know, or, oh, you want to pay me $100 for, I'll do it for $100. But you got creative and you found a way that worked for the two of you.
For sure. Yeah, and did the job, and while I did that, I was like, I'm going to use this now to market myself and hopefully at least land one more. But that's the thing, it never happened. Like, nothing came out of it. I mean, things came out of it, but it didn't happen when I needed it to.
Right.
So I scrambled for about a year and a half after that, not just throwing things at the wall, a ver qué pasaba, pintando todo lo que me pedían. And again, for cheap or for whatever it was. And I didn't like it. I was like, I don't like this. No me gusta. I don't want to paint that guy's cat.
You were just an artist for hire.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I went back and I just got like a regular, like a standard job, right? Just got like a 9 to 5. And I just focused on kind of being young, to be honest. Y me divertí un poco, salí unos conciertos, got to travel a little bit, and then get my mind right to see what I really wanted to do with what I knew now. So started going back into art, making a few things, started painting live. Pintando vivos es algo que me ha servido mucho porque it's like a novelty. Then that way people can really appreciate, like you peel back the curtain on it.
Right.
Right. Y ven, es que te la aventaste right now. And so people can, so it was like this education process with the community, with brands, with businesses, nonprofits that I was doing, pintando en vivo, but then also painting large scale. So in veces it's not necessarily about how deep and how much message you can have in a piece, but sometimes it's just about being black and white or like blue collar and be like, no, es que this takes this much time, o si lo quieres que lo pinte grande, pues se tiene que rentar esta máquina, or you have to do all this stuff. And then people like in a blue collar sort of community empiezan a agarrar la onda un poco más. And then on top of that, they're like, oh yeah, but like, you know, you were talking about, I wish I could clone myself. Like, but on top of that, you're like, but it's only me that can do it. Yeah. So then people start understanding that a little bit more. And then I start understanding that too, and not being like, no, like I can't just be like $100, whatever, or I'll just go meet with you like if nothing's going to happen. Because like, it's your time.
Well, and I think that's the definition of my definition. Don't Webster Wikipedia me, but my definition of artist is someone who is unique and can create.
Sí.
You know, estábamos hablando de Trent. Mm-hmm. A lot of people make hats. A lot of people make cool hats.
For sure.
But only Trent
right.
can make Trent hats.
For sure.
And that's what makes him unique. Only Armando can do Armando paintings.
For sure.
La pintura en vivo que yo vi en video that really pops out was the one that was upside down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another. I mean, again, just these little.
¿Qué está haciendo? ¿Qué pedo? Y ahí me tenías ahí comiendo palomitas, and then you flipped it around. I'm like,
yeah.
Ay, güey.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm like, by no means am I a pioneer of that or anything like that. And I mean, I think a lot of our classes actually we did some sort of exercise or something like that in school. I even remember having like math worksheets where if you would solve a problem, it would tell you what shape to draw in a certain box down below. And then you would fill out that box, and then when you were done with your whole math sheet, that picture in the bottom turned into something like a flower or a butterfly or something like that.
Right.
So it just comes down to breaking things down and seeing it in a different way and rehearsing it, practicing it like a band does, learning a song, and then you perform it in front of a crowd, and you just have those certain strokes and shapes and patterns memorized, and you go and do it in front of people. But it's a great way again to show and expose the process to people for entertainment, for just wow, like, okay, that does take, there's something there that obviously you had to practice that, and there was time, and so people start kind of shaping or sculpting what it means to create a piece or see a painting,
right.
that it doesn't just come out of a printer, especially in today's world donde todo es instantáneo, and give me the likes y déjalo copio and let me repost it, and it's just instant gratification. To be able to slow things down and put some of that discipline and expose some of that process, es veces es lo mejor, and even for myself.
Dude, I'm very scared for kids nowadays with that instant gratification.
Sí.
I'm so terrified that like my nephews, my daughter's generation is going to lose the idea of the struggle.
Yeah.
Como dijiste, like that big bear you thought was going to open all sorts of doors and be the big boom moment, and it took time.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's still one of my proudest pieces that I've done to this day.
Really?
When people are like, "What? Like, show me what your work." It's like top 3 or 4 of like the first things that I show, and people are super blown away by it. They're like, "Wow!" And then I'm like, "Yeah, it took me like 350 hours," and they're like, "Whoa,
350 hours?"
Yeah. It was 2.5 months. So I was going there like working 8 to 9 hours a day, or sometimes more.
So after that, las pinturas en vivo. Then I remember the Greeley Unexpected campaign.
Yeah, that's super funny. I'll give you a little nugget on that. I got a phone call from the Downtown Development Authority, or somebody that works there or worked there, and I later found out that I was like a sub, like I got called in from the C team, or like the G League in a way. Like I think they had their roster filled out as far as who was going to represent that.
Okay.
And not to be like that I was super at the bottom of the list, but they're like, somebody pulled out, or the numbers weren't right, and they're like, well, what about Armando, like an artist? Because I think the people that were helping with the campaign were like a creative, an artist. And so my name came up because I had just done the Einstein mural.
Yep.
And then, I got in, and then I felt it anyways, and this isn't like to shoot my own horn, but I felt that once I got in, that a lot of the energy of that campaign, like I felt that it got put on my shoulders a little bit, because then they're like, oh, you can paint, and you're not weird. You know what I mean? Like we can sit down and have a conversation. And I was like, well, I tried to like just be normal and be a decent person, and carry a conversation.
Define normal.
Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe they're like, this guy's going to be hard to work with, or
right.
And so, that was a really cool like PR move that happened to me in a way.
Yeah, I remember I was traveling, no me acuerdo dónde, pero I was going through DIA, and all of a sudden, Greeley Unexpected, and there's Armando. I'm like, cabrón.
Yeah, it was super surreal.
Yeah.
But in a way, it was really fun. It was something that I got to be a part of and really push my name. I mean, the community in general, when you think of Greeley or something like that, to push that there's that sort of energy here, right?
Right.
But also, in a way, it was a little bit of the cart in front of the horse. Como que se me adelantó la energía un poco, porque muchos me empezaron a buscar y querían hacer cosas, but
you weren't ready.
I'm still feeling immature. I was super immature when it comes to like, okay, this is who I am and this is what I have to offer. I was just like...
But I've been struggling with that same question right now. I feel like yo estoy en una evolución mental muy cabrona. Hay muchas etapas, muchos layers en eso. But the question I've been really meditating on lately is, are we ever there?
No, I don't think so.
Do we ever find the me moment?
Right. No, I hope not.
Right.
Like I hope, like for me, the hunt, the pursuit, the process is what I try to, es en lo que me enfoco, es en lo que me meto, es en lo que es importante, right? And I'm not a parent yet, but I imagine from a standpoint of like raising kids or giving advice, it's about being in those moments. It's about then being in the trenches of like being a practitioner, de hacer la práctica de lo que estás haciendo y no los resultados. Los resultados van a venir y a lo mejor van a venir como no se los espera uno,
Right.
¿verdad? Pero sino seguirlo haciendo. O sea, no hacerlo for the six-pack, but do the exercise because you like to do the exercise.
I'm working on my six-pack.
Yeah, me too.
Tengo un barril ahorita, pero I've got a keg. Oye, so some of the bigger, most recent projects you've worked on, I mean, you've been involved with some major organizations. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's pretty...
Toot your horn.
It's weird. I'll just so I've worked maybe some big names. I've worked with the Denver Botanic Gardens, con los jardines botánicos de Denver. Y con ellos acabo de ir a Oaxaca a explorar y participar con el Día de los Muertos. ¿Y por qué? Like, why do that? Like Day of the Dead, si eres hispano, you celebrate it or you're attached to it in some way, right? Pero muchas de las veces es algo más íntimo, algo más personal, donde es en tu casa, tu altar, tu abuelito, tu tatarabuelo, whatever it is, pero no es algo que lo estás haciendo como en comunidad.
Right.
Unless you go to a place like Oaxaca. And the way that I talk about that, it's like going to Times Square for New Year's Eve. There's much more of this like communal celebration of that particular.
It's the mecca of
Exactly.
Día de los Muertos.
Sí, y fuimos a explorar, participar y estar ahí, y ahorita estamos trabajando para ver cómo les ayudo yo, almost like as a curator, or install certain parts of it para cuando se celebra el Día de los Muertos en los jardines botánicos. They've been doing it, I think they're going on their 9th year, which is pretty good for like, it's not like they just started, because there's a bit of energy here in the United States that's turning into like the next Cinco de Mayo kind of thing, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Y
everything is sugar skulls, everything is calaveras, everything is la Catrina.
Yep. Y es importante para mí, again, this is me being part of that group, drawing the map like when I was a kid, illustrating the thing and participating and engaging, and seeing how I can be useful so that it doesn't just turn into some of those things, so we can really bring in value and more context. Even if it's me standing at the door, being me in my skin, speaking both languages, saludando a la señora, hola señora, buenos días, hi miss, how are you, being able to be that person, just to be present, I think that's important.
But I agree. I think that's very important because, I've seen it during Halloween. A big social movement has come up the last couple of years donde, we are not a Halloween costume.
For sure.
La Catrina.
Sí.
Todo mundo de Catrina. And, so I think education is a big part of that role, and educating people what Dia de los Muertos is, what it represents. It goes all the way back to indigenous days back in, what's now Mexico.
Sí.
Es una ceremonia, es una creencia, es una cultura muy profunda.
Sí, y por eso igual fue importante para mí ir a Oaxaca, porque ahí en Oaxaca está el cerro de Monte Albán. O sea, es donde está conectado a lo que era los zapotecas. Ajá. Y, o sea, y de las calaveras y todo de lo que viene a la conexión a la muerte, o sea, viene de todos esos tiempos. Y ahora como las tradiciones han cambiado, ¿verdad? Por el mestizaje que pasó de los europeos que vinieron, los españoles. But that's like another big whole thing. But
right.
Yes, there is now this... I'll just tell you now, que en veces yo, even though I have the card, the get out of jail free card, sometimes I'm hesitant because I feel like I am on the verge of culturally appropriating my own culture. Why do I say something like that? Es porque they're like they're so embedded, all these little things that we do. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, do you know that if you put that out there, like in a community setting, like let's just say something that's not in a church, right? You're like, there's a lot of religious church kind of things in here, and it's like, as a city or as a town, is that really the message you're pushing? Because there's some blurred lines here when you're, in America, you're trying to separate
right.
church and state kind of stuff, right? And so sometimes I'm hesitant with some of these things. Y en veces I don't even know if I should touch them because of how sacred and important they are to so many people, that it's hard, man. And even from a creative standpoint, it's like, how do I not paint the sugar skull anymore?
Yeah.
Pero a la misma vez that it feels that way to you, that you're like, oh, that feels like something from home. And
did you see the painting of Zapata
¿En dónde?
No me lo vi en redes. I saw it on Facebook.
Or like
Facebook.
recently?
Yeah, recently, about
No.
maybe last year. Somebody drew a zapata, but wearing a dress on horseback, and it was very, very.
Ya me lo imagino. Like, I can imagine. Because there's
it was bad. It was, I mean, the horse tenía, like, it was very graphic. It was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Fue muy atrevido.
Like gender fluid, kind of
Very
like.
gender fluid, and there was a lot of
sexual.
backlash. Very sexual.
Okay.
I mean, the horse's penis was like 10 feet long.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
And I say bad because it was very risque.
Let me ask you this, though. So taking all that content that's in it, could you still look at it and be like, but the person that did it is skilled?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And where I'm going with it is that there was a lot of debate because of what you just mentioned about, the culture, the beliefs. And there was a lot of backlash on social media.
Yeah.
Porque este artista tomó el personaje de Emiliano Zapata, que en México es muy sagrado.
Sí.
And he portrayed him in that fashion.
Sí.
So I get what you're going at.
Yeah.
And it's like, where do you find that line?
For sure. Yeah, porque muchos, like when you grow up, I'll just say Latino, like a lot of the things that you grow up with, the way that I talk about it sometimes is que the image of the Virgen de Guadalupe is just as popular as the Coca-Cola sign.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, not that, I'm not saying one's
it's
better.
It's just as popular, pero es más venerado.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't mess with la Virgen.
Right. But you see, it's just everywhere like that.
Yep.
You can't. And so, to touch some of those things, like, I wouldn't go and paint, again, a Coca-Cola can, or I wouldn't do that to the same as like you said, con la Virgen. And so there's some of those things that, yeah, you got to tread softly, man, because it's people's creencias. It's mucha gente, like, it's what saved you sometimes, right? It's things that you put up here.
Right. But now let me ask you this. As an artist, do you care what people say or think about your art?
I don't. So, yes, I do. Ultimately, I think we all do. And this is really cool. Because if we didn't, like, whether it's your wife, your brother, your dad, if you weren't involved in those things, or a fan, right, or a friend, if you weren't involved in those relationships, or you didn't create, our lives wouldn't have meaning. Like, we would just be this thing floating in space that nothing mattered, and we might as well be like a rock on the ground, right? And so ultimately, I think just in general, people, like, we all do care. I don't know if I'm making a lot of the work that I've done, it's more commission based. And so I haven't done a ton of work yet donde yo digo, I'm going to hang my hat on this,
it's me.
On this me message, penetrate, like, timeless, like, you can't change me, or this is my philosophy, or...
And that was one of my questions. When you paint, cuando tú creas, porque todas tus obras son tus bebés, whether it's for someone else or whether it's, for a mural or whatever, it's your baby. Cuando tú creas, is there a message? Is there some sort of a meaning behind it?
Yeah. A lot of times, there's always a message. But there's sometimes it's not my message. I'll just say that. Sometimes I'm just the conduit, right? Call it from, like, a higher being, or like a school, or Maria wants her kid painted, so the message is, I love this kid. But sometimes it's a collaborative message, right? Where I partner with other people, and whether it be because they're giving me their space to create, or they're opening up, or we want to work together on something. Sometimes the message is just to connect. So a lot of the work that I'm working on right now, is to try to bridge that gap between tradition, folklore, and a contemporary feeling.
Okay.
That speaks to como estamos hablando ahorita, que cómo se puede entender right now, pero que esté cool y que me gusta, and that's badass, like, for it to feel that way, but at the same time have this traditional sopa de fideo, like, jugando con los niños, con la abuelita.
It takes you back.
It takes you back. Que tenga that richness, that flavor, but is also saying something now, right? Sometimes that's the message. And what is it? A lot of the times it's not for me to tell you. Because if it was for me to tell you, it means the painting maybe didn't connect with you in the first place.
And the reason I ask is because we see a lot of artists who are political or who have religious statements or social statements.
For sure.
Does any of your work have any kind of that kind of subliminal messaging, or do you think you'll ever go that route?
I think eventually. I hope that I don't know. I want to say that I'll be triggered like in a certain way. But I do hope that as I gain a life experience, I think just life experience, todavía no, me falta muchísimo. Again, from me not being married and having kids, I think from a primal, like human being reproduction standpoint, I think there's a lot there donde me puede conectar a los demás, right? And from a standpoint of wisdom and saying and teaching. So not until I get there will I feel like I give myself permission to do that. Pero at the same time, it doesn't stop me from reacting.
Yeah.
Right? So I can see, man. And I can see myself again as a dude, como un chavo que le decían bolillo, or made fun of me because I was short, or my name, like people were calling me like Armageddon, or like I could take those sort of experiences and flip them at the moment.
Right.
And not like bash against it, but just process it and react and put it back out to the world, and then see if there was any other kids that are like, oh yeah, I kind of felt like that at one point, and this is cool. And I don't know if I would have ever said that before, pero está chingona esta pintura, me gusta, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. And now we connect a little bit.
It'll be interesting to see one day once you're a dad, because I think that was a turning point for me.
Okay.
My daughter right now is 3, and
congratulations, that's a big deal.
Thanks. It's life changing, dude. I'm in a wonderful spot right now. I love it. Pero the last year and a half is really when I've been having this internal struggle and conversation with myself, talking about, thinking about legacy, thinking about what I'm doing at a greater level to leave for my daughter, to leave for that generation.
Yeah.
Things I never thought about when I had no kids.
Yeah, it was kind of like
it
an
was
A to
party.
B.
It was like, go with the flow, whatever. If I die tomorrow, I die. Whoopie-doo. But ahorita, it's legacy. Wow. It's a really deep internal conversation that I'm having with myself.
Yeah.
And I blame her for it.
Yeah. How does that, like, what's a super, I don't know, blunt, like, way that you see yourself moving differently? Like an example of it. Or a choice.
My lifestyle, my radio show in particular. El Aventurero was born out of a split personality that I've got. In El Aventurero for 20 years, era parranda, era fiesta, era desmadre, era,
El Aventurero.
Yeah, I was a bachelor. I was having fun. And I'm having a blast now, but I was at a different stage. And now it's more serious, more laid back, more, okay, we need to talk about serious adult stuff now.
Yeah.
My show, I try to do more focused. And it's been very well received. It's been I tenía un personaje que era un borrachito desmadroso y, siempre decías mamadas y medias. Y,
sí.
Tenía su aceptación, tenía su pegue. But I look back, I'm like, dude, like, that was a whole different me.
Yeah.
The party lifestyle, like, I could care less about going to bars anymore, going out, the nightlife. I don't give a shit about that.
Right.
I want to go to the mountains with my family, go experiences,
Yeah.
I want to form memories. So I think that's how that's really changed me.
Yeah.
Soy un viejito casero ya, güey.
Yeah. Within that world, is there anything that you're currently excited about or like obsessed with, or like, oh, I'm trying this and it's like, it's really taking up my mental right now? And it can be anything from like a song to like a process, or left from right, or a color.
Exploring and developing a mountain. I know this is going to sound weird.
No.
A mountain retreat.
Mountain retreat.
Yeah. That's really on my mind.
For yourself?
For the family.
Oh, so taking a trip to the mountains, or yeah.
Actually, building what's really on my mind is building a little homestead land, una cabaña, cabin type thing. That's really been on my mind. Before bed, I'll read a book or read a couple of chapters here and there. But then I get on my iPad and start researching mountain land.
Oh wow!
I start researching how to build a cabin. I start researching how to build a farm.
Wow!
That's really on my stuff right now. Business development is another big one right now.
Okay.
Expanding in those.
And those are actually, I mean, just to touch on them, they're almost in.
Yeah.
They're two different directions, right? It's like a tug of war of
it is
career growth, but also let me get away from that and retreat.
How do you unplug? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And that's always been my problem is, I've been a 24-hour hustler. I would go hustle 7 days a week and put in the hours if I had to, I'm not afraid. And now it's okay, how do I find that balance?
Yeah.
And now I'm able to dedicate and unplug. And that's the struggle right now.
Mm. Yeah, the refueling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The finding meaning of you're hustling, but for what?
Right.
Absolutely. What's the takeaway?
I think one of the biggest things in my personal development, personal professional, is I really want to put a message out there, and it's finding the way how to do it to really connect with the underserviced youth, with the at-risk youth. And that's been one of the big things that I've been really meditating on professionally is what can we do with podcasts, with radio, with all these media that we have to really make an impact for kids.
Yeah. So here's a question within that. Y es donde there tends to be this immediate trust that I get when I go into schools that it's my sneakers because I love sneakers. So I try to when I go into schools and spaces, I try to be aware of some of those choices.
Right.
Call it my sneakers or my hat, or I'm like, hey, ¿dónde vas? Or ¿cómo te llamas? And oh, you speak Spanish, mister?
Yep.
This complete wall just comes down, right? And the kids are just open and want to ask you and where you're from. Who do you engage with? ¿Con quién pasas el tiempo? That just how I'm talking to you like this, you can just puedes cambiar it from Spanish to English, that you find is bringing you value.
So my circle is small, and I've not always, recently been very aware of who I surround myself with.
Mm-hmm.
I have my best friends.
For sure.
Who do I spend my time with? A 3-year-old girl. And she has opened my world tremendously. Pero no, I'm a huge believer in who you hang around with.
Yeah. So are you speaking to her in Spanish?
Spanish, yeah. Con ella es español.
Siempre.
Te entiende español, she understands English. It's funny porque su abuela on her mom's side es de Zacatecas, no habla inglés, habla puro español. Pero le digo, Gianna, go tell your grandma this. Va y lo traduce.
Y ella lo dice en español.
Ella se lo dice en español.
Y a los 3 años.
A los 3 años.
That's amazing.
Te canta canciones, o sea, se sabe las letras de canciones muy profundas. Her vocabulary is incredible. So I think she's the proof that, this idea that we grew up with, that if you talk to a kid in 2 languages, and I still get it from people. You're gonna affect her, you're gonna damage her by speaking 2 languages, you're gonna confuse her. Nah, absolutely not. That's a bunch of bullshit. You see them just grow. You see them absorb it. I really want to instill culture in her, nuestra historia, nuestra cultura. Quiero que lo vea y que lo viva, que lo respira.
Yeah, I asked that question because oftentimes I feel like we're placed in situations to kind of suppress either one of them, right? Like we were just talking about.
I was very ashamed of my, and I say it openly now, but when I was a kid, I was very, very ashamed, very shy of my Mexican roots because I was teased, I was bullied. I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't know how to deal with it. So I was that kid that was embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Until probably mid-high school.
Yeah. How do you find... giving that an outlet here in the United States?
I have become the person that, and I became right after high school. I was always siempre me importaba lo que pensaba la gente.
Sí.
I was very worried about public opinion.
Okay.
Y
Like at large, because I know you grew up in the radio kind of world. Like that gente, or like your high school, like
everybody.
Okay.
Everybody. Y llegó el momento donde I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm me. And I had to accept who I was.
Sí.
Pero, you know, you get to a point where, and I see it right now, where everybody on social media wants to be liked, wants to be accepted.
Sí.
I'm going to put this picture out there. Oh, shit, I only got 1,000 likes.
Only.
You know, I only got 20 likes. You know, we're living in a world for likes.
Sí.
Y es lo que me preocupa mucho. Like, it's like, be yourself, live for yourself, be happy, you know, be a good person. Sí. You know, if I wonder what would happen if I posted a picture of myself in a G-string.
Yeah.
Would I get likes? I'm not gonna do it.
Pero otra cosa que ahorita that I've just been super aware of it. So te platiqué de Oaxaca and Dia de los Muertos, and a lot of it's being supported by community spaces here in the United States. But I've also been seeing a big surge within pop culture, where Latinos are being lifted up. Or
Latinos cool right now.
Like right now, yeah. Like, and you go see, what was it? The Hobbs and Shaw movie, or the new Terminator movie.
Dude, look at Bad Boys.
Bad Boys, exactly.
Look at the new Bad Boys. I don't know the percentage, but I mean, a lot of their promotion was in Miami
Kate
to
El
the
Castillo,
Hispanic
right.
media. Yeah, Kate El Castillo, Farruko, no me acuerdo quién, pero el reggaetonero que está, Nicky Jam.
Uh-huh.
You know, there's a lot of Latino influence in movies now. What really still bugs me is that with the amount of Latino actors, and I was talking about it on a previous podcast, with the amount of Latino and Mexicano actors that there still are out there, you still see actors who are playing the role of a Mexicano or, you know, just a Spanish speaker in general. They can't speak Spanish. ¿Cómo se llama el...
No manches.
¿Cómo se llama el carro?
Yeah. ¿Qué onda? ¿Verdad? Like...
Yeah, no, it's interesting. But no, being Latino...
It's hot.
Is hot right now. I mean, look who headlined the Super Bowl this year. I mean, it was all Latino. God, I loved it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But a la misma vez, and I think within that space, it's like, okay, but be careful. Like, I'm not saying don't do the things. I'm just like, what are you going to do?
It's a big responsibility.
Exactly. It's your platform.
Yep.
¿Qué vas a hacer? How do you pass it forward? I think maybe, como estaba diciendo ahorita, how do you transcend a little bit, right? Or how do you bring something new to the table? And everything, I mean, I saw even from that Shakira was bringing a lot of these traditional steps and dancing. Like, yeah, I mean, yes, do all of that, right? Like, know where you're coming from. Like, respect where you're coming from. Like, everything that your mom taught you. Like,
right.
Todas esas cositas that they're super, super important. Y que a la misma vez you show up and, you know, you hit your best shot in a way. Porque it's hot right now, man.
Yeah. And, I mean, looking at the numbers, you know, they're saying that in about 20 years, Latinos are going to be the majority in the country. So there comes a lot of responsibility. You know, I was having the conversation with somebody earlier. It's, you know, they're like, oh, this is the only Latino candidate on the ballot. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but what are you about?
Exactly.
What are you bringing to the table?
Yep.
You know, what's behind you?
Yeah.
So I think we have to take a look at that. And that's personally where I'm at right now. Like, you know, how can I help out? What am I going to leave behind?
Sí.
You know, so it's a thing that I think we all have to ask ourselves. And for the future society right now, I mean, you're very involved with students right now, with schools. So I think that you're like really right there with those kids, and they see you, they're like, oh my God, that's so awesome.
Yeah. And a lot of that really, to like, if anybody, not anybody, but for anybody's hearing this, is I'm not doing that because I see myself as that person, but I just ask myself, why not?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, like I'll go show up. Like, it's exhausting, man. It's hard. Like it puts you on a spot, and kids are asking you questions, and they maybe sometimes in those spaces they bring up feelings that you had when you were in that space, and you're like, oh, there's some things within me that I still haven't really worked out here, but now I'm in the adult, right, quote unquote the adult. But now how do I engage with these kids? So know that participating y showing up y even si nomás es yendo al doctor, it is hard. Like, it is this self-conscious, like, pero tienes que cuidarte, tienes que participar and show up, porque si no, somebody else is going to do it, and then they're going to do it for you. And then that's what, por eso no avanza la cosa.
Talk to me about some of these pieces here.
Some of these things son como quien dice, mis curiosidades, y no todas son mías. Por ejemplo, este es de un señor que se llama Oscar. Es de la Ciudad de México, y los pinta así como pintaba Frida en tin. Y pero uno son curiosidades. So some of my digital pieces that I do, a screen print from a t-shirt, un corazón que traje de Oaxaca, de un artesano, y como I'm inspired by masks, me encantan las máscaras, y también era algo que yo veía con mi abuelo, la AAA. So la parca and everything like that. I mean, just the culture behind
masks. 2 a 3 caídas.
Exactly. It's like exactly just like that. So I have a couple little masks that I made, and obviously here la máscara del tigre.
¿Rudo o técnico?
I just liked my guy was el octagon, so it's técnico. But a mí era porque los técnicos, for the most part, hence the name, they were just more technical. They would do all the jumping,
right,
all the flips, like all the acrobatics, but from like a drama, like character standpoint, it's los rudos, man. Always like the parca, like that was the best.
I met Octagon years ago.
Really?
Y lo entrevisté.
Wow.
And we connected porque he's very big into kung fu.
Yeah.
Like, that's his thing.
Like, it came from somewhere. Like, it wasn't just like, I mean,
no, his story,
outfit.
like his outfit, su máscara,
sí.
Tiene sus orígenes en el Oriente. Like, real cool dude. I love lucha libre. It's cool, and it's cool to see how it went. I don't want to say from an underground sport, but it went from just lucha libre to all of a sudden worldwide mass attention.
Sí.
Se dice que de todas las formas de lucha es la mejor y la más complicada. It's fun. It's
a puzzle.
Oh yeah,
it's like a puzzle. So I've had a bug in me lately to maybe I did a little bit of like karate, I think, but I've had a bug in me to maybe try to get into some mixed martial arts, like something, maybe
me too.
Jiu-jitsu or something, because there's this. I think there's something, again, I go back to that primal, that very, I call it testosterone, or call it just human exploration of the body, of expressing, of communicating, and not just talking about things. I think podcasts like these things are great, and it's amazing that we get to exercise the mind, and you're doing a great job with that, because también es otra cosa que falta ahorita, donde there's so many guys, so many dudes, even I'll just say here in Northern Colorado that you're going to get this awesome job, or you're going to get this hardworking job, you're going to get your awesome car, you're going to get this big house, but then is that it? Are you asking your questions? Like, is your heart good? Are you full within yourself? ¿Estás bien con tus hijos or with your parents?
No.
Y to poder platicar las cosas, it's super important, pero I also think que hay algo con lo físico, ¿verdad? De poder wrestle around, and then at the end of it, shake hands, be like, thank you, I just need to like sweat that
Thanks
out.
for kicking my ass.
Yeah. ¿Verdad? Revolcarse un ratito and then get up and walk away.
De vez en cuando hace falta una buena revolcada.
Yeah,
no sean cochinos.
No,
that's funny because I've been playing around with it too. I did Taekwondo for years. I delved around a little bit with Aikido, and I took like 2 classes with Kung Fu. Pero Taekwondo is my go-to, but I've been thinking a lot lately about Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
I've felt the itch to get back into it. las katas, the forms,
Las katas,
with
yep.
karate, with taekwondo, they're very much about life movement, the
Yep.
breathing, the stances, the posture, how you step, how you stand, how you move, how you react, everything around, the solar plexus, the ki, the energy.
You are way deeper than I. But I've heard all of these things, but they're all like, it's almost like this spiritual.
It's very spiritual. It's very meditative. Mm-hmm. It kicks your ass physically, mentally, but you feel good at the end of the night. You're like,
It's a mí me interesa from the problem solving standpoint of solving problems with your physical body.
Well, and that's how I see Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, more of a puzzle. Like, okay, how do I get out of this chokehold quick?
Sí. Yeah.
I've never done it. I've never done it.
Or put someone in it. But yeah, man, it's super interesting to me. So again, the whole hablando español, hablando en inglés, feeling okay with that, and not for the people outside you, but even within yourself, that you're like, it's okay to kind of bounce back between the two languages, and you're like,
I think going back to your original question about that, I think that's who we are. I'm very much a purist when it comes to language. If I'm going to speak Spanish, quiero hablar el español más perfecto que pueda.
Sí.
Es una meta que me puse muchos años, ¿no? If I'm going to speak English, I try to speak the most correct English I can speak.
Yeah.
And it's my personal thing, it's for me. Pero looking at who we are, we grew up speaking 2 languages.
Yeah.
Some of us grew up speaking 3 languages. So, and I think that's looking at the younger generations, it's almost a new dialect that's being born out of there.
Yeah.
Porque ahora ves la fusión de las palabras.
Sí.
Ves la fusión, el parqueo.
Sí.
Miles de otras palabras. Y antes it was like,
Yeah, like nails on a chalkboard.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, se me hace que le dije a mi mamá el otro día, ¿lo vas a typear?
Yeah.
Ay, sí, juezo.
Yeah. You look at the construction industry, frameros.
Yeah.
They're framers.
Yeah.
Los shitraqueros.
Son
palabras que...
It's like a band.
Yeah.
Right?
Los shitraqueros del norte. Copyright,
yeah.
No, but I think that's really where the younger generation is going. And I've, now that in my married life, I've been around, teenagers and my wife's nephews and their friends and family parties. Ya ves que las fiestas de nosotros son de 100 personas para arriba.
Sí.
You hear the conversations that go on, and it bounces back and forth. It's like, cabrón, qué cool.
Yeah, qué cool.
So I think back to your original question about that. I think for me personally, that's kind of who I am. I grew up speaking English and I grew up speaking Spanish, and now we're in a Spanglish world.
Yeah, we're in a Spanglish world for real. I know that for me, it makes it a little bit difficult, and I think a lot of it. And I think that's what I was kind of alluding to, because you probably spend your time, a lot of your time in a lot of different communities, right, or specializations, right?
Yep.
And so they have their own little pool of vocabulary that they probably use on the constant. When you have to make yourself available, be like, what's that word? Like, I know what it is here, but what's and that's where the sheetrockeros comes in, right? You're like, well, you're the sheetrock guy, right? Again, talking art and talking into some of these other organizations or businesses, there's this learning curve sometimes of like, I have to figure out what these 5 things are, and be able to dissect them and figure them out, especially if you want to be a great communicator of ideas.
Right.
Right?
I had the opportunity to travel to Spain when I was younger, and that was a whole different world. I thought I spoke good Spanish.
Sí.
Yo hablo español, güey. Like in high school, todo mundo llegaba conmigo, Guido, how do you say this?
Yeah.
I was the master of Spanish in high school.
Sí.
Pero luego vas a España
y
te das cuenta que todo el español me di cuenta que todo el español que yo hablaba,
I
was like, what?
Sí.
¿Qué dijiste? Vas a Argentina y
Así
es
es.
otro rollo completamente. Vas al Caribe y es otra onda completamente. There's just so much influence in language. Spanish is so deep, it's so profound, it's so there's so much color and depth to it. Una palabra en España no va a significar lo mismo en México, no va a significar lo mismo en Colombia. And I think, going back to that thing of hanging around with different pools, you pick up different words and you're like, oh, wait a minute, contigo tengo que usar esta palabra para que me entiendas.
Sí.
And then at the end of the day, parquéate ahí, güey.
Right. Yeah. Yes, se te sale. And the more you're around it, the more that it just becomes every day. My mom, even though she's probably the purest of being from the rancho in a way, but I think that's what it is. When you're from the rancho, you adapt to those things, and I think this is like the rancho now.
Yeah.
And so she's using the rancho words of like, ya parqueate ahí.
Have you seen the meme that has been going around about...
the Sofia Vergara one?
No, it's the meme that goes around something like... I thought I spoke Spanish until my job asked me to translate this, and then I realized, I speak rancho Spanish.
Yeah. No, the Sofia one is where she's like talking frustrating. She's like, do you know how hard it is to have to translate everything before I say it? Because like you're thinking in Spanish.
And as you're saying that, I'm listening to it in her voice.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God!
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, man, what else? Kind of went around the world here a little bit with some of this stuff.
So what's in the near future for you? I mean, you're almost finished up with the Dolores Huerta.
Sí.
Is that a commission or
It's a commission for a new, I believe it's a nonprofit kitchen.
Oh, cool.
Sort of like communal kitchen, cultural kind of center that's in Fort Collins. La Cocina. Mm-hmm. Some things that are coming up, pretty amazing things. Working with the Denver Zoo to do a mural for a new stingray exhibit that they're putting out. So we're gonna do a research trip to La Paz and the Cabos.
I think I saw that on your Instagram.
I believe, I believe so a little bit. I'm like, what did I do? What did I do that? I'm sure I put it out there. So,
so Denver Zoo,
April, going to Boston or Salem, I should say.
Okay.
To do a mural for the Peabody Essex Museum out there. And what's happening here? I'm going to go perform with, I believe it's in Arizona, with their orchestra, their symphony that's there. They have like one of those really like long regional names, and I just don't want to butcher
Philharmonic?
it. Yeah, like it's like the Southern Arizona, like something like that, Arizona.
Yeah.
But that'll be coming up here in March.
Very cool.
And other than that, man, just gonna try to take summer by the horns and be out in the public, do some more murals, doing a couple more residencies with some schools, and yes, like I'm booked. Things are great. I'm busy.
Awesome.
Hopefully though, adding value and trying to be present within these projects to connect with people. But
what's your ultimate goal?
When? Like
personally, like right now,
what's just today? Like
besides making money and surviving and getting your art out there, what is Artmando's goal?
At the moment, it's finding identity, like finding my place in Northern Colorado as an artist.
Are you going to stay here?
For the foreseeable future, yes. My thing is always like family is important, whether I like it or not. Like whether I'm like, whether you're like super career oriented, like
right.
Family is important. My immediate family's here. And I see the world being super small right now, and I see myself as more of a commodity because I'm not in like the hub. I'm not like in LA.
Right.
I can be more accessible to a lot of the country, and I think a bigger portion of the world, because I'm figuring it out in a space that's not necessarily giving you a blank application and just saying this is how you become an artist. And so I think there's a lot to that, like building something from scratch in a way. And you can take a flight anywhere, if you needed to.
Yeah.
So Colorado's beautiful. Está hermoso aquí. There's a lot of. I've built up a bit of a home base. Me entiendo un poco. I have a good network. I've built up. Yeah, it just feels like home here, and I think that there's a lot to that. En veces ahorita también pensando as an entrepreneur or as a go-getter or Latinx. There's a big push for you to go do something big, and sometimes that means que dejes lo que tienes, and I'm not saying to not do that. Está bien, pero en veces it's okay to just be you,
Yeah.
Y decir, no, like, me gusta mi pueblo, me gusta estar aquí, or I like to go see my mom on Sundays and have breakfast with her.
Right.
And there's nothing to be ashamed about with those sort of things. Y and if the thing is you want to start a roofing business or just work in the roofing industry, está bien, man, está pelada. Like, just make sure that you know who you are,
Right.
and that you're not trying to become something else because somebody else is telling you to do it. So yeah, being here, being an artist here, and then trying to explore and see the world, like it's pretty amazing. And I'm getting to do some of that, y no me lo puedo creer en veces. Pero sí, en veces sí me lo puedo creer, because I told my dad one time, because my dad's always like, you gotta go to, if you're an artist, you gotta go to like New York or LA and like do the thing. And I'm like, Dad, if I'm good, like, como dicen, si me la rifo, as they would say, like, they'll come find me.
Yep.
Like, I'll have value no matter where I'm at.
If you build it, they will come.
Even if it's like conchas or whatever, or even if it's like the taco
conchas.
stand, right? I mean, if your tacos are good, you're gonna have people out the door waiting for your tacos, you know?
¿Tacos al pastor o tacos de asada? O de barbacoa?
No, al pastor, man. But
All day.
they gotta be good, because en veces
De trompo, güey. Tienen que ser de trompo.
tienen que ser de trompo. And if like in my other life, my alter ego, it would be to be a hustler, like entrepreneur, luchador, mask wearing, taco cart selling, like little guy, like selling tacos like out of a
¿El
carrito, right? With like this whole like.
¿Cómo te llamarías?
I think I'd just take my dad's nickname. I just call it Tacos El Chino. Because I think there's a lot of Asian influence and a lot of Mexican culture anyways. Like, and I think it's just easy. It's very street. Like, it's something that's very like de la calle.
Tacos El Chino.
Yeah.
Armando, muchas gracias.
Nah, man, gracias a ti.
How can we follow you on social media?
Artmando Silva. So, nomás pónganle una T al nombre de Armando. On Instagram is probably it's the best way to.
I'm an Instagram guy.
Yeah, it's visual, it's short, there's not a ton of noise in it.
Yeah.
And Twitter, I guess, but Twitter, I'm usually just talking about sports. So, as popular as most people would think, artists do like sports, and I like to go to the Broncos game and Los Nuggets. So Artmando Silva, artmandosilva.com, y hashtag Artmando, y to kind of see what I'm up to, just send me a DM, send me an email, reach out to you.
Cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
Wherever you
I'll
want.
post a link also in this video and in the podcast.
Yeah.
So they can check you out. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck with the future.
No, thank you very much. Good luck. This has been really cool. I've been watching what you've been doing with everything.
Thank you.
Super awesome that you have this platform, and wishing you the best. Yeah.
Gracias.
Everybody that's out there, take care of yourself, do good things, treat each other kindly, and work hard.
Awesome. Armando Silva, muchas gracias.
Yeah, ahí estamos.